Today's topic is the long march through the films. So, in this lecture, we intend to understand the long march of Chinese history of the 20th century through cinema, cinematic representation of the long march. I have chosen a film called The Legend of 1935. The film meticulously depicts how the Long March was shaped and how the Long March actually controlled by Mao Tse-tung, how the party finally decided to depend on Mao Tse-tung over the policy making. The film first introduces the important characters of the Long March, the leadership of CCP, or which is known as Communist Party of China or Chinese Communist Party. The film first introduces us the CCP leadership, which the important leaders who are involved in this Long March. So the film introduces with us Zhou Enlai, Mao Tse-tung, Po Ku, Chu Te, very important figure, became a very important figure, emerged as a very important figure later because he was the military general of this mission. Wang Jiaxiang, Liu Shaoqi, Liu Po Chang, and very important another person was there whose name was Otto Braun. Otto Braun was the representative of Comintern or Communist International in China, and he was sent by Communist International to help the Chinese Communist Party, to guide the Chinese Communist Party in this long march. So the film at the beginning introduces us with the characters who have their own opinion about the long march and the debates among them. The film also depicted that, the debates among them, and the very important moments were decided through the debates of the leadership. Now, if we just very briefly introduce the Long March. Long March was an incident took place in 1935 and 1936 in China. At that time, China was ruled by Chiang Kai-shek, who was the president of Kuomintang party. He was known as Generalissimo, president as well as the general of China from Kuomintang party. That party which was established by the nationalists of China. Now, Chinese Communist Party were the party cadres and the party workers. They were trying to extend their influence all over China. But the northern part of China was safe for them because held the much influence in northern part than Chiang Kai-shek, who was running the government. But in the southern part was Chiang Kai-shek's stronghold, and therefore the communist groups in southern part were in deep trouble when Chiang Kai-shek's army encircled them. So they needed a movement of the whole army, People's Liberation Army, which was the frontal army of the Chinese Communist Party. They needed to move the army from the southern part of China to the northern part, because in the southern part they were encircled already by the Chiang Kai-shek's Kuomintang's army, and they needed to escape from there to take a safe shelter at the northern part. But the journey was very difficult because the number of soldiers of Chiang Kai-shek's army, it was very natural because Chiang Kai-shek was running the government So the government army, he got the help of the whole government army of 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs in number. Whereas the People's Liberation Army's members initially were near about 1 lakh. So it was just 1/3 in size in comparison to the army of Chiang Kai-shek. The Chiang Kai-shek knew that, apprehended that in order to move from south to the north of China, the communist army must cross the Yangtze River. So Chiang Kai-shek deployed his army in such a way that they could not cross that Yangtze River. Now, first, under the influence of Otto Braun, who was the Comintern member in Chinese Communist Party, and under his influence, actually the Liberation Army, People's Liberation Army of Communist Party, they started movement from south to north, but every time their movement was collapsed, their movement suffered a huge setback because the head-on collision did not go in favor of them. It was very natural because the government army's number was huge, as well as they were equipped with weapons, ample number of weapons, whereas the Liberation Army's limitation was the number as well as the ammunition. Now they hold a very important meeting, as the film shows, which is known as Chunyi meeting. In the Chunyi is a city of China in the southern part, where the Chinese leaders they met, and the first time they, Zhou Enlai, the leader of that time in China. Later he became in communist China, Maoist China. Zhou Enlai became the prime minister of China. Zhou Enlai actually put his trust on Mao Tse-tung, because Mao Tse-tung was trying to introduce a new way of fighting, a new method of fighting the enemy that was later marked in history, became famous in history as the guerrilla warfare, Maoist guerrilla warfare strategies. Mao Tse-tung, as the committee finally entrusted Mao Tse-tung to lead the military strategies and to lead the People's Liberation Army's movement, Mao Tse-tung took a very strange kind of strategy. On the bank of a river called Chisui, on the bank of the Chisui river, that Tuchang was a city, and in the Battle of Tuchang, Liberation Army once again suffered a setback. As they suffered a setback, many members were trying to criticize Mao Tse-tung, but once again party members, in spite of their criticisms, once again they trusted Mao Tse-tung. Mao Tse-tung took a very interesting strategy. The film depicts it very playfully, how Mao Tse-tung is trying to change through debate the policies of People's Liberation Army. And the film very dramatically depicts through dialogues, through visuals, how the dependence of Chinese Communist Party on Otto Braun was actually decreasing, and the committee was more and more becoming dependent on Mao Tse-tung's policies. Now Mao Tse-tung took a very interesting policy. Instead of going straight to the northern, he suddenly took a decision to cross the Chisui river and moving towards the west. It was unexpected to the government army. And now Mao Tse-tung designed this thing that Chisui river was crossed in a circular movement. It made a circular movement, that Chisui river was crossed 4 times, and that was completely unexpected by Chiang Kai-shek. In this moment, the film built up a very interesting conflict between Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Tse-tung. So they never met each other in those years of Long March. But film, through a parallel cutting, the film shows Chiang Kai-shek, and then it shows Mao Tse-tung and People's Liberation Army. The film establishes that Chiang Kai-shek's one problem was that, since he was a generalissimo, and he was behaving like the dictator, like a dictator, and he was continuously undermining Chinese Communist Party, though he apprehended that Mao Tse-tung could at any moment invent new kind of strategy. But still, Chiang Kai-shek's personality, as opposed to Chiang Kai-shek's personality, the film depicts that Mao Tse-tung's personality is more open. He was trying to debate with his comrades and trying his best to convince them. So, a more democratic way of taking decisions. And another very important point the film depicted here, that through dramatics, that Mao Tse-tung could convince the People's Liberation Army soldiers that, look, you are not warriors, hired warriors. You are actually the savior of the Communist Party, and your ultimate goal is to make a revolution. On the other hand, Chiang Kai-shek's army was, the film hinted us that Chiang Kai-shek's army was a battalion of hired soldiers. They didn't have much commitment other than their job in the battlefield. But Mao Tse-tung convinced his people, his personnels, that you are not the hired warriors, you are the revolutionaries. So that made a huge change. That film, the Legend of 1935, very, very interestingly depicted this conflict. So the film continuously showing us 4 levels of conflict, and the film very realistically handled that. The film became a very faithful to the historical documents, and as the events took place in history, the film unfolded the scenes and sequences according to that.
Of our strategic shift. 共产国际并不了解我们的情况，我们现在需要的是胜利。这是狡辩。好了，现在不是争论是非的时候。我看我们现在还是应该抓紧时间讨论一下，如何扭转被动的局面吧。泽伦同志，你接着讲。恩来同志说得对。
4 levels of conflict. One level is, the film shows the difference of personality between Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Tse-tung. The second level of conflict, the film deals that Mao Tse-tung debated with his critics inside the party and trying to make his opinion champion. The third level is another level that is shown through action sequences in the film, that is direct, and that is confrontation between the Red Army and the hired army of the Kuomintang. And the fourth, another level, which the film very subtly shown us, which is the level of international politics, that Comintern actually led People's Liberation Army through Otto Braun in a faulty way towards a blind alley. If the Long March would have followed Otto Braun's method, it would never sustain, it would never successfully retreat. But that conflict between Comintern and Mao Tse-tung's policy. So these 4 levels of conflict, the film dealt very dramatically, and the film became very faithful to the history. There are other human elements which the film added in the film, that the People's Liberation Army, Mao Tse-tung continuously trying to convince them that People's Liberation Army is actually a people's army. They are fighting to save the people. The film's depiction of characters are very fantastic. For example, not only Mao Tse-tung, but the character of Zhou Enlai. Zhou Enlai is known in the history of Chinese politics as a person who is very thoughtful and poetic. So Zhou Enlai's love for poetry, his very sensible, the way he sensibly dealt his compatriots, his comrades, Zhou Enlai's wisdom that he could understand his own leadership, Chinese Communist Party could not advance much. So he very thoughtfully transferred the leadership authority to Mao Tse-tung, on Mao Tse-tung's shoulder, and that actually rewarded the Chinese Communist Party. That Zhou Enlai's character was depicted in a very loving way, and Zhou Enlai in real life was a character like that. The conflicts in the film were handled very interestingly. And finally, after crossing the Chisui River 4 times, as the Red Army crossed Chisui River 4 times, the enemy was completely baffled, bewildered, because it was a movement from east to west, west to back to east. It was the government army anticipated that the Red Army would move straight to the from west to north, but for 3 months, from January 1935 to almost 4 months until May, they actually moved from east to west, then come back from west to east, and that's the way they finally could baffle the opposition, the enemy. And at that point, the last time when they crossed Chisui River, they find the western bank of Chisui River is open for them, because the bewildered Chiang Kai-shek's army was concentrating on the east side of the Chisui River. So they moved forward very fast. For several months, they moved very fast to the northern area, and finally they crossed Yangtze River, but not Yangtze River where the river is very broad, that in the downstreams, no. They avoided the downward part of Yangtze River, but they crossed Yangtze River in the upward part, the mountain parts, where the river is narrow, and the river is known in a different name, that is Chinsua River. In May 1935, the Red Army could cross Chinsua River, and the moment they could cross Chinsua River, a huge area towards north became open for them, because the whole government army, Chiang Kai-shek's army, concentrated to the other part of the river. And they had to cross 2 other hurdles. One is Tatu River, to cross the Tatu River, and there was a narrow bridge, Luting Bridge. That Luting Bridge they had to cross, and finally they had to cross another Lajikou Pass. That pass was the only way from south to north China. If someone could not cross that pass, Lajikou Pass, it is not possible to enter into northern China. So once again, with the help of Mao Tse-tung's very clever guerrilla strategy, that they could cross the pass, and finally they could reach the safe northern part, that is, they could reach that Yan'an where they wanted to reach. But when they started, it was 1 lakh member. When they reached Yan'an, they were only 25,000. But finally, they could retreat and save the Chinese Communist Party. From the consolidation of the north, they once again started Chinese Communist Party their journey and finally they could capture the power of China in 1949. So the film showed us those decisive moments in the Long March, the debates in the party, and the film hinted to us the consequences of the Long March. For example, that the film meticulously depicted the rise of Mao Tse-tung in Communist Party of China, how this rise was ensured. There are several moments in the film. If we join those moments in the party debates, we can understand the full story of that. Secondly, the success of guerrilla warfare, tactical and strategic use of landscape, territorial features, and demography in war. How Mao Tse-tung designed that guerrilla warfare, how he used deviating from traditional way of warring. He used how the landscapes, territorial features, demography, geographical advantages in the war. The film also mapped that very successfully. And another point, the film indicated to us that the film apparently looks like action film, but no, the film showed the actions definitely, that the battle between Red Army and Kuomintang's army. But the film's objective was to show the politics of the Long March, how Chinese Communist Party could consolidate their politics and political line through this Long March. That was shown, and one point is important, that Mao Tse-tung, how Mao Tse-tung developed that Communist Party, that Communist Party should resist the Japanese imperial aggression. And later we saw that how Communist Party resisted Japanese imperial aggression in China in the time of Second World War by using this guerrilla warfare strategy. Now let us have a very quick session of question, answer and quiz. When did the Long March take place? The answer is the Long March take place from January 1935 to October 1936. Second question, who emerged as the future leader of the Communist Party of China through the Long March? The answer is Mao Tse-tung or Mao Zedong emerged as the leader of Communist Party of China through the Long March. Let us have two multiple choice question. Otto Braun was sent to China as a Comintern member, as a missionary, as a trader. Which one is correct? The correct is the Otto Braun was sent to China as a Comintern member. 2. Zhou Enlai was a leader of option 1 Kuomintang, option 2 Communist Party of China, option 3 Vietnamese Communist Party. The option 2 is correct, that is Zhou Enlai is an important leader of the Communist Party of China. So if we just to sum up the lecture called Long March through film, we can say that its success in the Long March, as the Communist Party of China could successfully retreat from the southern part to the northern part, it saved the Communist Party of China. And not only that, it paved their way, Communist Party's way, towards future advancement in the history of China. And that is why the Long March in the history of China was that important, because Long March indicated in 1935 that Communist Party of China would emerge as the most important force in the politics of in the Chinese Communist Party of the 20th century.